Rode microphones are the official microphones of Be Terrific. Find out more at rodemic.com. Welcome to the Michael Artsis Show on Be Terrific. I'm Michael Artsis. Thanks so much for joining us. Hope you had a great weekend. I did. Had a lot of fun with Jack, my 22-month-old son. Went to the slot car track, Zeppelin Hobbies. Had some fun there. Got to see a 56 Chevy Bel Air, beautifully restored. 350 small block V8. Had disc brakes and a whole lot of other features. It was a lot of fun. Wow, was that thing loud? Did it sound good? I miss carburetors. Do you miss carburetors? I miss carburetors. They just sound so good. Got to play with Jack with some Matchbox cars, Hot Wheels, and some other cars that my brother-in-law has basically bestowed upon him to kind of keep. My brother-in-law is older than me, so these cars are literally from the 60s. He had a 68 Barracuda little Matchbox car. It was so cool. Made in Britain. Some stuff made in Hong Kong. Very cool stuff. I put some pictures in the new chat, which is also alongside the old chat. We've got an IRC chat and an old chat. You can communicate with us via both chats, and that is beterrific.com/live. You can also reach us on Twitter and Instagram at beterrifictv. And, of course, you can email us, connect@beterrific.com. You can find all of our content on beterrific.com and in-app, app.beterrific.com as well, both our archived and our current show, our live show right now. Thank you guys so much for watching. You make Be Terrific special. We've got a very, very special guest. I am very excited about having her on. We met at NAB through a friend. She's amazing, and she is the creator of the Geekie Awards. Yes, I said that correctly, the Geekie Awards. Can you believe that? I can. It's amazing. I can't wait to see the next edition of the Geekie Awards. I've seen some stuff from last year's Geekie Awards, and they are spectacular. She wields a sword. She's a TV host. She's done films. Kristen Nedopak is joining us. Thank you so much.
That you said I wield swords. I mean, what kind of introduction is that? That's amazing.
Well, you do. I can't wield a sword like that. I mean, I can maybe swing some nunchucks from watching Raphael and Donatello and Michelangelo back in the day. I'm missing one, Leonardo.
Yeah.
And Splinter had what, those like weird things, right? No, I don't know what Splinter had. He had the karate moves. But I can't swing a sword. I can't wield a sword. I could maybe like fence you, maybe.
Well, you know, fencing is actually one of the old traditional ways of sword fighting. So it's just another kind of weapon. Same thing, has a pointy end that you can stick me with.
I'll leave it at that then, and we'll move on. Where'd you learn to wield a sword, by the way?
I actually trained for many years at a place called the Academy of Theatrical Combat in Burbank. These guys are incredible. Jan and Dan Speaker, they've worked on so many different movies. They actually worked with Russell Crowe on Master and Commander. They did all of the fight scenes for the original Hook movies, and they're amazing. And so, speaking of television hosting, we actually used to co-host a show together it was called Fight Class, and it was about the behind the scenes of choreography behind all of these massive fight scenes in all the old movies, you know, lightsabers, all of that fun stuff. And so I learned from the best. So if anybody's in LA and you want to take fight classes, it is called Fight Class at the Academy. They're super great. But
I kind of want to.
I was like, I need to have this.
I kind of want to take fight class. I just like the idea of it. I'm a hockey fighter. I mean, I'm a hockey player, so I could hockey fight with you. That's about my only move. But look at you. Look at that. I mean, that's, first of all, you look great, and second of all, you look seriously like you could kill somebody. You look like a gladiator.
Yeah, I mean, I might be able to. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. When it comes to like the fight for death, I'm kind of dorky, and I like to do it for fun, and I laugh a lot. So somebody might end up killing me.
Well, but the thing is,
serious.
I mean, did you do this because movies like 300 were popular or becoming popular? Did you do this because you are that geeky?
So everyone, I mean, I think everyone's a geek. Geek for me means that you're really passionate about something. And all throughout my childhood and growing up, I was very passionate about fantasy. I watched fantasy movies. I love fantasy novels. I'm into, fairies and swords and wizards and you name that. And so when I came to Hollywood, when I was acting at the time, when I started creating my own work, I thought, I'm so sick of playing these, boring roles in films and whatnot. I'm always the bad girl, but I'm really never like the tough girl. I'm just gonna go out and I'm gonna learn how to fight with swords. And it just kind of became part of some of the creations that I made as a host and some of my own shows, like Fight Class. But it was one of those things that I just said, I want to learn how to do this and I want to be badass, and it kind of just went from there.
So you were kind of
swords hanging on my walls.
You were kind of stuck in like Shannon Doherty's character in 90210, Brenda, right? Like you're kind of the mean girl, you're kind of the bitch, but you're not a tough girl, and you're also not this like super villain or anything. You're not. You're kind of in this gray area, this boring role of, I'm just going to spoil everybody's day and be nasty and maybe even passive aggressive and kind of sneaky, as opposed to like somebody who could actually do something. I like that. So then how did you get to create the Geekie Awards? I mean, first of all, it's such an enormous undertaking just in concept alone. Second of all, like actually putting an award show together. I know I've been down that road and thought about doing this. And I've also done the other side. I've done production for a lot of these things. We did the 40th NFL Player of the Year Awards, which was the first one ever broadcast anywhere. And that's the Player of the Year on offense, defense, the Player of the Year, the Coach of the Year, all that stuff. Now it's called the NFL Honors, but we originated that concept of broadcasting that. It had been done 39 times before that. And so putting on a show like that or coordinating that effort is tremendously hard. How were you able to do that? I think actually we might have lost Kristen.
Oops.
You're there.
Can you guys see me? There you go.
Do we have you visual too? Yeah. Okay. So
Skype. See, technology. Skype. Technology loves me. It always likes to shut off.
Well, I can't stand Skype. I think it's the worst. It's the worst good technology in the world.
Yeah.
I think FaceTime works a lot better. And we have to live with it sometimes. So we live with it, but we're actually working on some new technology so we don't have to use Skype. And we can work our way around this. But anyway, in lieu of that, I guess my question is, this is something that is terribly challenging to put together. How'd you come up with it and then push forward, like, let's actually do this?
Oh, wow. I mean, it's been quite the journey. We're on our third year. And so if you would have asked me, a year and a half ago, I probably would have still been in my bed, cuddled up in my covers, like, I don't want to do this anymore. But, I mean, that's what we all go through when we try to undertake something so huge. But just to answer your question, I am a creator, I am a host, and with becoming a host, I created my own shows. I was producing my own shows. I started producing scripted content, and the original idea for the Geekies came around when I was creating content and I was putting it into all these film festivals and other shows, and I realized that they weren't really taking it seriously. I remember specifically I had a talk with an agent. I had a show about video games and that I was hosting, and I had a talk with an agent that said, I don't play video games. No one's going to take this seriously. I don't get it. I don't even want to watch the show. Meanwhile, fast forward, I just won a IWTV award for hosting a show on video games, as did a ton of other people that do geek content. But at that time, I realized that there are the Emmys and the Oscars, and other than Lord of the Rings, people that are creating, movies like Marvel and amazing TV shows about superheroes, I mean, they're never going to get that recognition. And so I decided that I was going to create my own award show specifically for people making geek content. And then I took it one step further and said, but who do I really want to help? I want to help the people who need to be seen. And so our show is purely for independent creators. Huge studios, huge production companies, they are not allowed to enter our show because there's already so many award shows for them. And they're well on their way and they don't really need any more media. And so our goal and my goal for the show is to celebrate the geek genre, but to do it in a way that we're actually celebrating people like myself that are out there slaving over this work.
I love that because it's so true. Look, I'm lucky enough to have some hardware myself, And I got to tell you, I've said for years that number one, if it's not something that's very serious, you're not going to get one of these pieces of hardware. And number two, if it's not with an organization that is, very prestigious, you're also not going to get one. Now,
Yeah.
I've bucked that trend, and there are exceptions to the rule. But the reality is, like, a movie like Howard Stern's Private Parts is never going to be considered for the Oscars, no matter how good the acting is. And there are
Absolutely.
so many other movies where there are comedies and whatever. No matter how good the acting is, you're not going to get an Oscar. You're not going to get an Emmy. You're not going to get all these other awards. It's funny. Peter and I have talked about this over and over again, and sometimes we feel like it's just a pay-to-play for situation, right? Where if you pay to play, which you have to with all these award shows, then you absolutely will be given a shot. But the reality is, we always feel it's the big organizations that buy the tables, that make the donations, and all that. So it's not really for the little guys. So I love this idea that it's for the independents and for the creatives in a different way, right? Like you said, nobody thought that video games would win an award, right? Hosting a video game show. But that's ridiculous. That doesn't mean you're not a good host. It doesn't mean it's not a good show. And it doesn't mean people don't want to watch it. And by the way, hello, I don't know if you know what Twitch is, but that is the most popular genre right now, is video gaming content. We're doing some video gaming content. We love it. We want to do more. And it's truly amazing. But there's a big difference between you saying it's not out there and you wish it was, and you actually putting on your boots, pulling yourselves up by your bootstraps and making it happen, especially the way you guys do it. It's a first-class production all the way around.
Thank you so much. And, to answer your second question there, I do have a background in production. So the production side was very easy for me. I had not done a live show before. So there was definitely, on my part, a little bit of learning about how do we create live content? How are we engaging our audience that way? Because I've always done pre-recorded, pre-taped stuff. But the event itself was actually a huge learning experience for me. I mean, I like to tell people it's like putting on the Oscars / a royal wedding / a production at Disney World. You're not only worrying about what's captured on camera, but you have thousands of people out here who need to be entertained, who need this interaction. And that's the type of interaction I was seeing at conventions, at Comic-Cons and at, Wizard Worlds and that sort of thing, where people can interact with their idols and play games. And, you go to E3 and it's all about, oh, I want to play this new game, or I want to see this new thing that's out. And so I sort of want to create the combination of those. And the only way that I was able to do it, I mean, number one, you have to be passionate about your work. I remember in the very beginning, some of the first people I talked to were POW Entertainment, that's Stan Lee's company. And they said, we really want to give Stan Lee the Lifetime Achievement Award. And I remember they were so sweet to me, but they said, good luck with that. I mean, no one makes an award show. And I have to say, from there to the time I started building my team, and because I have the team that I have, it was because I really loved the idea. I was very passionate about the idea. Everyone that knows me knows that I'm all about helping and inspiring other people. That's what I was doing at New Media Expo. I was on panels for women in entertainment. And I think that to anybody that wants to create something like this, and I'm sure, that includes yourself, you really have to be passionate about what you're doing. You have to understand that no one's going to get what you're doing until you can kind of convince them that this is an amazing idea. And then you just have to go forth and do it. Year one, I just did it. I convinced a lot of people to give me a lot of things and a lot of their time to show a proof of concept, and it ended up working. And I ended up just being able to grow from there. It was a lot of trial and error. It was a lot of stress. It took a lot of willpower to get there. A lot of people said no, but I didn't give up.
Yeah.
I said, no, this is what I want. And my whole theory was, there are no award shows for geeks. So if I don't do this and I don't make a splash, somebody else with more money is going to steal this idea.
So how do you do it?
It hasn't happened yet, but...
Well, I would say that don't take offense to this, but and I guess imitation is the sincerest form of flattery, but somebody will copy you at some point.
Of course.
And there's no doubt in my mind you've been too successful with it. How many viewers have you guys had with it?
So on Twitch this year, we had almost 200,000 viewers for a live show.
Excellent.
So we went from not that many to a few 100,000, and our media impressions are actually even more impressive because we do talk about being seen, and building the audience is a process. But we did, the first year we got 1 billion media impressions. The second year we got almost 1 billion media impressions. And so we're kind of on this roll where, I remember I saw the numbers that came in, and my publicist at the time said, "How many media impressions did you think we got?" I was like, "Oh, I don't know, like 500,000." She's like, "1 billion." And my
Wow,
mind
you're
just
like McDonald's. You're just. I love it.
yeah. And so
So
and we're growing, and I hope that we're just going to continue to grow, because every eyeball we get is the eyeball on these people that we're trying to celebrate, and that's really why we're doing it.
it looks like so much fun. I would love to have Be Terrific there in some way, shape, or form, or something. We got to do something together for
You got to get on
sure.
the red carpet. Come on, of course, come by,
Well,
interview people. We'll have all of that stuff.
we might have to figure
Chat.
out something. The red carpet's not really our spot. We might have to figure out something. We're much more behind the scenes than inside. But yeah, we definitely have to interview people or figure something out. We can definitely cross promote in some way, shape, or form.
Absolutely.
For sure. So how do people enter? Because now the submissions are open, right?
Yes. People go to our website. You can just go to thegeekieawards.com, and it's GEEKIE awards.com, and you can enter. Just so everyone knows, there's tons of different categories, as opposed to a lot of award shows that just cover one thing: film, TV.
Yeah, so give me an idea of some of the categories that we're talking about here.
We've got podcasts, we've got short films, web series, comic books, art and craft, fashion, video games, of course, tabletop games, and just a lot of digital content that's happening. And so it's really a wide variety of what's happening with people creating independent digital content on YouTube and such, and things that you see at a convention, like the artists and the fashion, and the vendors that you have there. And we've kind of combined the two. And then, of course, we added in video gaming and tabletop gaming into that as well.
Let me ask you something. We did live coverage from New York Comic Con last year, 1.27 million viewers,
Yes.
almost 8 minutes of retention time, great feedback. Thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you for making it special. How do we enter some of that content in the Geekie Awards? Is it possible? Is there a category? It was all live, so I don't know if there is.
So
it's not a podcast.
Yeah, we actually have two different categories.
Yep.
We call it web series because it's any online content. And what we did this year is, because web series is our biggest category, we've separated it from scripted web series. That's where you're going to get the episodic, serial, scripted stories. And then we have unscripted, sort of reality web series. That's where it's hosted, it's first person, it's vlogging, it's live shows, that sort of thing. And so you can just pop it over there in the unscripted, and I'll send you guys a link. So yeah, we're trying to cover everybody that's doing fun stuff.
Now what's it cost to enter? Because I think we should enter. I don't know if we'd win. There's a lot of stiff competition, but we definitely we should definitely enter. And we want to be part of it in more than just that. But I think we should. I think it's super cool. And this is definitely unscripted, by the way.
Just a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. So how much is it to enter?
It's $45 to enter.
Very
and so
reasonable.
it's, and I know we were just talking about pay to play a minute ago. And the reason why we do have to charge a fee
No, that's different. It's different. I'm talking about buying, like, you have to buy tables and all sorts of stuff.
Absolutely. But we do have people. We actually had somebody on Twitter today ask, why do I have to pay? And, I do actually want to eventually get.
All right, let me answer that for you. You don't have to say a word. This event literally costs at least $500,000 to put on, to broadcast, to fly people in, to build the set. Stop. All right? Not only is Kristen allowed to make money, but also and a profit from putting this genius idea together, but she has to cover the cost. And by the way, $500,000, I said $500,000, that is a very, very, very conservative number. I kid you not. This thing costs a ton of money, takes a ton of time and effort. She probably puts at least a year's worth of work into it, in addition to doing everything else she does. So don't ever ask her that again. If you want the answer to that, come to me, and I'll tell you. Hello, McFly. Come on. Seriously, not to steal a line from my favorite movie of all time, and that's one of
my favorite movies. Actually,
my least favorite character, by the way.
Guess what? This year's every year we have a geeky theme, and the first year it was retro sci-fi, and the second year was fantasy. Well, take a guess what this year's theme is.
Back to the Future?
It's time travel.
Oh, I love it. I love it.
Yeah,
We got to
so
get
I'm not saying anything yet. We don't have it all planned, but I mean,
there's. Do
it
you
is
know?
2015.
Yes, that's the year that Marty travels to in the
Yep.
future, and Back to the Future 2. I've watched the movie a million times. My son Jack and I, he's 22 months. It's the only movie we've watched together so far. We haven't watched the whole thing. He made it past the first 20 minutes, and he loved it. He loved the car and everything. And then it got, you know what? PG-13 is a little racy. It got a little racy for him, a little swearing. We had to turn it
Yeah.
off. But actually, Adam from Be Terrific was telling me that there is, and we're trying to get these guys on, a documentary. I think it's called Back in Time, and these guys are doing a Kickstarter. They've interviewed Michael J. Fox and Robert Zemeckis and Christopher Lloyd and all these people, and they're doing a whole documentary on Back to the Future. They've done principal photography, and now they're just looking for a Kickstarter to raise the funds to cut it. And we want to have them on. So
That's great.
yeah, we're super excited about that. I'm waiting for my Air Mags with the auto laces. I used to have the vest, I used to have that down vest that Michael J. Fox had. I would die for a DeLorean with a flux capacitor. In fact, I have a flux
I know,
capacitor.
right?
I have a
Me
flux
too.
capacitor in my car. It's a cigarette lighter charger for my phone, and it lights up. All right. So, how did you get into being geeky? Like, when you were a kid? I mean, you had to be. I guess you were probably a little bit of a tomboy then.
Yeah,
Is that
yeah.
correct?
I was very much a tomboy. I mean, I grew up in a really tiny town. I'm a nature freak, so I was always outside, and all of my neighbors were boys. So it was all, and I'm an Aries, so I'm very competitive with and when you're growing up, like the guys are who's really competing with you. The girls at that point they were playing, some were playing Barbies, not all.
Yeah.
But my sisters were doing other things, and that's when I just grew up. And then I actually have a lot of older male cousins, and so when we would visit, they were always playing with their GI Joes and their Star Wars toys. And so Star Wars is probably outside of some of the original Henson stuff, like the Dark Crystal and Labyrinth. That's a little bit more fantasy. That I kind of grew up with as a child, and I fell in love with. I love those make believe places. But really, I think it got nerdy when Star Wars came out. I was born in 1977, so I grew up with that. Not that everybody needs to know my age, but I have all these older cousins, and they were playing with their Death Star and all their toys. And then every single Thanksgiving, we would go to my grandmother's house, and the adults would be sitting at the table, and they would turn on Star Wars, and it would be the whole entire trilogy marathon, and they would just set us in front of it. And so every single year I watched that movie, all of the movies, and I just thought, God, this is so fun. I mean, I'm a daydreamer. I'm a big thinker, and to watch sci-fi when you're growing up, George Lucas did such an incredible job of creating this amazing story that had the villains, but like even the women, with Princess Leia was a badass.
Yeah.
She was not a damsel, and I think that a lot of us as kids just connected with that. It connected with this hero that had to learn how to be himself and connect with himself and use the Force to overcome, and it's just such a great series. But that was probably my initiation into geekdom. Then I actually have a screensaver right now that I'm looking at, which is Darth Vader and the Stormtroopers.
So you like the dark side then? I mean, I guess you said in the beginning that you didn't want to be, basically Brenda, right? On 90210.
Yeah.
You wanted to be a villain, which is interesting because you could have gone the opposite way and said, well, I didn't want to be Brenda, and I wanted to be a good girl, but I wanted to be a hero. You said villain. That was your words. So I kind of feel like you like playing the villain.
Actually, well, kind of the opposite. When I was an actress, I always got cast as the bad girl and the villain. I mean, it was the red hair.
I was
right?
gonna say it's the red hair,
Yeah.
and if I think that even if it wasn't red, it was just dark. It's the blonde is the good girl, right? Almost always, except unless
and then now it's the brunette. Now they're like, oh, okay, we're gonna make it. The brunette's the nice girl, but it's like the red hair. It's like, you can't be a nice girl. Which is silly, but I personally, I wouldn't, like, if I were to pick a character in Star Wars, it probably would be Yoda. I would be the old wise guy.
Well,
that's like, let me teach you.
But you're not old, so you can't be the old wise.
I'd be a redheaded cute Yoda,
cute
another
Yoda.
person.
I like that.
Or Han Solo. I mean, come on, everybody wanted to be the smartass.
Yeah.
I'd be the smartass. That would be.
Yeah.
My
I mean, I always see myself, if I was going to be an actor, I always see myself as John McClane. Or Marty McFly. I could be Marty McFly. He's a bit of a wise
Yeah.
ass. I
There
actually
you go.
probably could fit Marty really well. The John McClane, I could fit the John McClane pretty well too, I think. Definitely. I mean, I've got the bald head. It works. I didn't
Yeah.
always have the bald
You know
head,
you're
though.
gonna have to dress up for the Geekie Awards now. I better see that orange vest.
Oh, I'll roll up my
Secret.
jeans. I'll get a pair of Air Force Ones. It'll
There
be
you
all. I'll
go.
be all set. I just need the. I really do need the Air Mags though. Okay. Well, what about your like you? So you went from being. By the way, first of all, there's a movie you have to watch. It's called Plastic Galaxy, and I think you're gonna love it. And I actually think it should be entered for a Geekie Award. We've interviewed Brian Stillman, the creator, twice. It's about. It's a documentary looking at Kenner and the Star Wars toys when they first came out, how they revolutionized the toy industry and the movie licensing toy industry, and how they changed everybody's way of thinking. Because basically, when the film, not when the film came out, when Star Wars the film came out, nobody expected this kind of demand. No toys linked to movies had ever done that well, and basically Kenner had to ship out all these empty boxes saying, "Hey kids, you can redeem the sticker inside here or the certificate inside here for a full Star Wars set in like May," because this was what they shipped for Christmas.
Yeah.
And so you'll see that it's a really, really well done, really great film, and it's really interesting. So I know you'll want to watch that. You probably had some of these toys, but it also should be entered for the Geekie Awards, I think. But what I was going to say to you is, so we've got the movie that kind of started it, but when you go out on the schoolyard and you're a girl, and you know, I think back then especially, tomboys had it hard enough, right? You didn't
Yeah.
necessarily always fit in. Now you're like into Star Wars. You're kind of going more into like the nerdy, geeky side, which I embrace, I love. But it makes life a little hard, does it not? Growing up, you were kind of like, especially being, you're a beautiful woman. I imagine you were a beautiful girl. Especially being a beautiful girl, it must have been a little challenging in middle school and high school.
Not really. I
Yeah.
mean, you know, I grew up in a really tiny town, so I can't. I tell everybody, look, in my town, you could be the captain of the football team, and you could also be in the marching band. You know, it's just that's the type of town that I grew up. There was 100 people in my class. There really wasn't a lot of the popularity that you saw in the 80s movies, and so when I watched these movies, it was this weird thing to me. I didn't really get it. I didn't really get that there are these cliques. I didn't really get that. You know, I mean, again, I was in marching band and I played sports, and then I was like in high classes. It was just a thing that like, oh, do whatever. And so I have to say that I had a great childhood growing up. I didn't really encounter a lot of that because I think there was just not enough people in my town to really deal with something like that. But
Where'd you grow up?
I grew up in a little town called Salamanca in western New York. It's like in the middle of nowhere. One stoplight. You know, we had everything that everyone else had. We had football games and you know, glee, not glee clubs, but choir.
Were you a cheerleader?
Everybody kind of did everything.
What's
up?
Were you a cheerleader too?
I was not a cheerleader. I was actually in the marching band, so
Yeah.
I played the saxophone. So cheerleading's one of the things I didn't do.
See, this is what I'm saying. You were Lisa Simpson.
I was Lisa Simpson. So I was kind of a little bit, you know, I was a nerd. I was in all the high classes, but I also played sports. You know, I was an athlete. I won like awards for being an athlete. I used to be a ski racer. But again, it was just like a thing, you know, it's like, oh, everybody can do everything. And my parents never certainly gave us this impression that there was anything like a popularity contest. But I actually didn't discover that until I got older, until I started doing the show. You know, you do realize that there are still cliques out there and that there are still people that act like they're in high school. And so I kind of may be dealing with that right now as opposed to when I was younger. And so, you know, I don't really have any training for it, but being a woman and being a geek, honestly, now's the time. I mean, it couldn't, if it were 20 years ago, I probably would have been, you know, outcast. But I think right now, the geek community actually is probably the biggest community that is pushing for equality. That's why you see, you know, sci-fi shows and movies where the women are always badass. They're super tough. You know, you see something like Firefly. They're not all dressed sexy. Princess Leia wasn't, I mean, she was beautiful, but she wasn't wearing like skimpy clothing all the time. I mean,
yeah, I agree. That was
wasn't a
disappointing.
bikini.
That was very disappointing to me. She did not wear
Well,
skimpy
you got
enough
Slave
clothing.
Leia. Come on, you got Slave. That was Java.
But I agree with you. We had a woman on at Comic-Con. It was probably one of my favorite interviews of our New York Comic-Con, and that was her name is on YouTube is Made You Look. Her name's Lexi, and she came on and was painting another woman. She was there with Nick. I think it's Nick's Cosmetics, and she was showing off body painting. And I said, "How did you get into this?" And she said, "Well, I got into this because I was," and she's a beautiful girl, again, a beautiful woman, but she wasn't, didn't fit in school, right? So she'd go home and she'd cry and all this stuff. And after a little while of going home and crying to herself, she decided instead of taking out her angst and her anger, crying or whatever, she'd start painting herself as the Incredible Hulk so that she could act
That's
out
cool.
being the Hulk and hulking, right? And then it just became a thing like, wow, she was taking out her bad feelings on, basically on this good stuff. And it became a positive, and now she's a professional makeup artist. She does an amazing job. Her YouTube channel is phenomenal. I actually watch it all the time. And there are very few YouTube channels that I watch.
What is it called again? I'm writing this all down.
Made you look. I don't. Hold on. I have to find an email because it's like spelled weird.
You can always send that to me after.
Yes, absolutely. But I want to give it to the viewers as well.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And you're so right on that. A lot of people, again, my childhood was interesting because I feel like, I mean, there were definitely things that I've gone through, but again, like I grew up in such a small town that I don't really think a lot of people went through that as much. I mean, for me, I grew up realizing, well, if you're a fun person and you're yourself and you're a nice person, that everyone's gonna like you. And I never really took to this whole popularity of, well, just because you're cool or you speak down to other people, everyone's going to like you. But I do know a lot of people did grow up like that, and it happened to be in our childhoods, it happened to be being nerds and being geeks and being into things that were different. But now I really do think that people are embracing being different, and those are the people that are creating their own work and creating their own companies because they've always been themselves. And I think that's the important thing that we want to promote with people is, there were even athletes back there that they're not mean now and they weren't mean then. They were just being themselves and they were sporty and they wanted to play, games. And I was one of those people too. So I feel like, the message there is really just find a way to be yourself. And that's why when we say the word geek, we're not talking about comic books or sci-fi. We're talking about someone that's passionate about something. And that something could be anything. It could be shoes. It could be that you collect coffee mugs. Who knows?
No, I could. I'm still looking.
It's a broader term than just segmenting yourself into something that has that negative connotation of I don't belong. Everybody does.
I couldn't agree with you more. Her name's Alexis Fleming, and her YouTube is Made You YEW Look on YouTube. So it's Alexis Fleming, and it's Made MADEYU Look. No, YEW Look. And it's pretty awesome. But what I was going to say is I couldn't agree with you more. I mean, I played sports. I think I was an interesting guy because I'm not beating my own drum by saying that. I kind of straddled I kind of am like I am today, right? I straddled the fence. I played sports. I was really into sports. It's all I wanted to do. But I had interests outside of sports. And in addition to that, I liked film and video, not only hosting, but also being in production. And on the other end of that spectrum, I just felt that everybody should get along and be friends. As long as you were a good person or a nice person, I was happy to be friends with you. And so, oddly enough, like I was friends with everybody. And I had lots of friends who, oh, that guy's a nerd, I'm not going to be friends with him. But I never viewed it that way. I would just hang out with everybody. And I never understood why, you wouldn't. I didn't understand why there were cliques. And I don't know. To me, as long as you had no problems with me, we were good. And if you were not a nice person, then you and I probably had some severe problems.
I agree with you. My husband always says to me, by the way, he has a 1964 Galaxy that makes that engine sound. Just saying, he's really into cars. But he always says
1964 Galaxy. Do we have a picture of this? What color is this car?
No, it's like in the shop getting done. I mean, there's like pictures on Facebook. I'll have to send it to you. It's called Whiskey. It's this brown color that's like root beerish,
Yeah.
but he
Or
named it whiskey. It's really
I was gonna
funny.
say, or whiskey color.
Yeah. But I just wanted to also agree with you. I think that's really the point I was making is that, you know, the way I live my life and I do business and I love people. I love people that are nice. You know, so if you're a nice person, I don't really care what your background is. I don't
Yeah.
care if you're socially awkward or you played sports or you're popular. A lot of people, it doesn't matter to me as long as you're a decent human being. And I think, you know, I think a lot of times when, especially with kids, you know, and myself included, one of my goals is really to influence the younger generation growing up. That's one of the biggest challenges they have is like, well, you know, I need to be somebody else to get people to like me. But really, you know, high school is crazy. It's just a growing phase for everyone. No one knows who they are yet. And so everyone's all over the place. But when you get to be an adult, you just got to let all that go and say, look, I'm me. That's it.
I think in high school you got to be like that. Screw everybody else. Just be yourself.
Yeah.
Like I never worried about anything. I did. I had anxiety about it. I realize that now, but I didn't. Like I was able to let that go. For instance, I'll just give a quick story. These two kids jumped me in cafeteria, right? And I wound up winning this fight. And I'm not a fighter. I don't. This is self-defense. I'm not trying to promote fighting, but I went for I wasn't the biggest kid. I wasn't the most built kid in the world. I didn't work out. I went for Halloween, which was, you know, like the day after they returned from their suspension as Mike Tyson. And that was hard. That was really hard because you have to be super confident to walk in a Mike Tyson mask after you know, took these two kids out that you're literally going to face them and all their friends now. And there were a lot of other things. And, you know, it's funny. I'm wearing red shoes today. I wore these Friday. These are my red Nikes. I call them Be Terrific Red, right? I like that if on set my shoes get seen, I've got, you know, red shoes on. It's cool. So I don't do it every day, but it's fun. And somebody said, wow, those look great, man. Not everybody could pull those off. You got to have a lot of confidence. And I'm like, what are you talking about? It's just be who you are. You want to do something, just do it and roll with it and have fun with it. I guess that's what I'm trying to say. And I couldn't agree more. Janny is from Finland. He's a huge Star Wars fan. Him and DP, who are our viewers, say that they want to watch, they want to marry a geek woman, which I think is cool. They want to know, and now Janny has like an R2-D2 that lights up and moves in his remote control. It's super cool. Yeah. He wants to know if you've ever gone to a Star Wars celebration event or anything like that.
I just went to that last weekend. Was it last? I've been on so many trips. I just went last weekend. In fact, I mean, I could get up right now and show you my awesome Star Wars hoodie.
Well, get up. Come on.
Wait,
you can't tease us like that. We'll give you 2 seconds. I'll stall. I can figure out a way to stall. I got to tell everybody not to forget that we've got a new live chat that is a web chat on beterrific.com/live. It's also beterrific.com/live-chat. I was in there all weekend looking for you guys. Guys, go in anytime you want, and if you stay there, we'll check in throughout the day and check in with you guys. It's really easy to use, and it's really awesome. And by the way, I've made it a homepage icon on my iPhone, so I can literally just jump into it, and it remembers my screen name and everything, and that's through like Chat Dingo. Now, we're not getting rid of the IRC, which I know Janny and some of you guys love. But we want to have this. So don't forget about that, and don't forget to tweet us at BeTerrificTV. All right, I think we've got Kristen back with her hoodie.
Okay, you guys, are you ready? This is
yes.
I got this from Hoodsbee, HOODSBEE. They're so awesome.
Whoa!
I've got my Yoda. Right, he goes in all my videos.
I love that.
So he's here, and I've got all my Star Wars toys over there in my office. But
that might
got lots of toys over here.
That might be the coolest hoodie ever.
Isn't that cool? And it rolls up. They only made about 2,000 of these. I'm gonna take it off because it's hot in here. But they only made 2,000 of these, and so they're exclusive to Star Wars Celebration. And I think they sold out of all the men's pretty quickly. But
how much was that? How much did that set you back?
It was only $50.
That's it. Oh
yeah,
my God, they could sell so many more.
And I wear it everywhere. So I have this thing now where I'm putting it on Instagram every time I go somewhere. Like I went to the beach yesterday. I brought my hoodie, and then it's like Sand Trooper. So I'm making this photo collection of all the places that I wear this hoodie because it's so cool.
I love that hoodie.
It's my favorite thing ever. Yeah.
That is really cool. Unbelievable. This was in Anaheim, this convention, right?
Yes, it was.
Wow.
And my God, I walked over there with so much art. I mean, the art that wasn't sold out. But yeah, I've never been to a celebration. They've always been in Orlando or in Europe. I think it's going to be in Europe next year. And so we got super lucky, and it was in Anaheim,
What
super
do you
close by.
what do you do for fun? Your husband's got the Galaxy. He's rebuilding that. It should be on an episode of one of our shows, Garage Queens, which we're debuting soon. We
Ooh, there
debuted
you
at the New
go.
York
Got to remind
Auto
me about
Show.
that when it's done.
Yes,
What
yes,
do I do for fun?
yeah.
Well, I do a number of different things. First of all, I obviously play video games, and so when I actually get some time off, and I'm not watching, catching up on my favorite shows like Vikings, just had a season finale. I actually, I play video games, and I'm still pretty athletic, so I like to go biking. I like to go bodyboarding, and really just kind of hang out with my friends. But a lot of times my fun is going to all these conventions. So I try to make it to, I'm at Comic Con and WonderCon and Emerald City Comic Con, and I've been to Dragon Con and all of these different places. And so that's kind of where I tend to see everybody, is all of these different places, and then we all kind of get together,
You
and
ma-
meet up and drink.
you,
So that's also part of my fun, but it's a little bit work related.
what's the
So,
geek? What's the drink of geeks? Is there a geek drink like?
oh well, I don't know what geeks drink, but I think everybody knows that I drink whiskey.
Wow, very
there was
nice.
there was one point where it was like your clout score as like number one topic hashtag whiskey. It was like, oh my god, I sound like an alcoholic. I'm a bourbon drinker. I don't know what anybody else drinks, but they always know that I'm gonna be standing at the bar drinking a Manhattan. Or I mean, it's even in my first series that I did about the Skyrim parodies. There's like a bottle of whiskey there, and I'm playing video games. That's what I drink. I
How
don't
did
know what everybody else drinks, but
how did you get
not.
into how did you get into into like drinking whiskey? That doesn't. I mean, I feel like most people they go through the beer phase, the college
Oh
phase. It's all
man.
beer, and then whatever's cheap. Whiskey seems like that's an interesting choice, unless you
Well,
unless.
I am from a small town, and
Well,
there's a lot of kegs of
I was gonna
Milwaukee's best.
I was gonna say unless you grew up, with the Dukes of Hazzard, and then maybe I'd see some
Oh,
whiskey.
I love that show. Okay, my husband's from Montana, so we're
Yeah.
all about like small town shows, and like we love the Dukes of Hazzard. It's so awesome. But honestly, I grew up drinking beer. I was never really a wine person. I kind of drink it now, but I love beer. I went to school in Syracuse. I still remember leaving my tiny town and going to Syracuse, and I go to this bar, and there's like 100 beers on tap, and I'm freaking out because I've never seen this many beers in my life. And like my town is like Labatt's and Coors and Bud, and that's pretty much it. Milwaukee, and so I kind
Well,
of
it
went through
wouldn't.
that
Wait, wait,
phase.
whoa, 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 whoa! They didn't have Milwaukee's best.
Well, they have Milwaukee. No, Milwaukee's best was what we called the Beast. That's where everyone got kegs of when there was parties. So, drank plenty of Milwaukee's best. But I did drink beer, and then honestly, like as I got older, I gotta be honest, guys. Wheat and gluten doesn't love me anymore, and I'm very upset by it. There's a lot of things I can't eat and drink.
So you're
And
you're gluten free.
I am. I have to be. Just you like again, you get older and your body starts hating things.
I feel
But
like a lot of us are actually like
yeah,
gluten
and
intolerant.
it's tough because I do love the taste of beer, and everybody goes out, let's have a beer. But I got to be honest with you, you know, keeping up your shape and being athletic, beer does kind of have a lot of calories. You can put on some pounds, and I just feel like you got to drink a lot of beers to get the same effect as one awesome Manhattan. So if I'm
Th-
gonna spend money on something, it's gonna be one really great drink. My favorite whiskey is High West from Park City, Utah. It's amazing, and that's just it tastes good to me. I love it. My husband loves it. We're huge bourbon whiskey people. And I think pretty much everyone knows that by now. I actually, whenever there's something whiskey related, people post it on my Facebook page. That and cute little potbelly pigs. Those
that
two things.
that is very hardcore. I would say very very
I've got
hardcore.
the pig too, you guys.
There you go. I
I've
love it.
got lots of toys right here next to my desk.
Now, I mean, is there these guys are all asking now? Is there, do you know? Maybe I don't know. Is there a like there's Match.com and there's like all sorts of other iterations of that? Is
Ooh.
there like GeekieGirl.com where you could find a geek
Oh
mate?
my gosh, you know what?
Wouldn't that be
Okay.
a great idea?
Oh, now I gotta find this, you guys. I'm gonna look on Facebook right now. There is a guy that created something. Oh, You know what? I can't find it. I'm going to have to send it to you guys. I'll find it later.
All
But
right.
there was a guy that created a website specifically for geeks because he thought the same things. Like, I want to find somebody that's into the same things that I am. But you know what? A lot of times, you guys, a lot of people meet at conventions and then
Right.
they come back and get married at conventions. So don't underestimate how many
Where'd you
conventions.
meet? Where'd you meet your husband? It wasn't at a convention.
No, actually, we work together. Again, I do actually like some sports, and I'm kind of obsessed with baseball, which is really bizarre. Like Star Wars baseball, but I love baseball. I love the Red Sox. We actually we worked together. I was in Boston and he was in Seattle, and we emailed each other one day, and I said, "Mariners suck, go Red Sox," and he's like, "I'm a Red Sox fan," and then I ended up moving to Seattle for a job, and that's kind of how we ended up meeting. But we actually ended up meeting over sports, and being we both were graphic designers at the time, so that's kind of how we met. And now he does.
Wait a second.
Uh,
How did you get? I got to know your career path now. I
oh
thought you
my
just
gosh, it's so crazy.
I thought you
It's
just
really
became an
crazy.
actress and it kind of took off from there, but it seems like
Oh
you,
no.
yeah. All right. So first of all, I mean, I have like a million more questions for
I have
you.
a
I don't
whole
even think,
bio that's like, what? Where did
yeah,
that come from?
I don't even think we have time for all this. But hold on, I want to get back to the conventions. My head's going to
I
explode.
can
I
give
know
you
that
the
the
short version
listeners,
of my
the
life. How about
viewers
this?
their heads are going to explode
I,
right now too.
I'll give
No,
you a super,
the
I'll give you a
short.
super short version.
Okay, let's
Uh,
connect the
I
dots. Here we
grew,
go.
I grew up in a small town.
Yeah.
I went to college for art, and I was a ski racer and an artist.
Whoa, whoa,
I
whoa. Ah, stop. We got to stop you at certain points. Pause. You were a ski racer professionally?
I was a ski racer for Syracuse University. My senior year, I actually ended up being the captain of the ski team, and we
Wow.
did go to nationals that year.
So you weren't kidding when you said you played sports. I mean,
I
this is like serious.
I do. I live in Buffalo, New York. I mean, I grew up skiing. There's lots of
Yeah.
snow. I
Well,
grew up skiing. Um,
how do you go from being at Syracuse and the captain of the ski racing team not to the Olympics and into acting and everything?
well, so I ended up moving to Boston, and I got a job in graphic design, and that flipped me over to Seattle. And I had always actually, when I was in college, I actually unofficially minored in acting. I knew I wanted to be on camera. When I was at fourth grade, I wrote and produced my own play. I was a dancer, so I was always about being on stage. And so I did a bunch of theater. And when I moved to Seattle, it's the independent film scene. And I ended up being in like 40 different indie films. I mean, I'm sure some of them are out there if you guys look, and they're not that great. But that's kind of how I got into acting. Then I moved to Los Angeles, and then I realized that I don't really like acting. I really like being myself on camera. That's how I became a host and a producer, and it kind of all went from there. So that's the short version of my life. But in there somewhere, I still do. I work for corporate America. I used to work for Microsoft as a user experience designer. So that's why I love technology. How you use technology is what I design. And so I kind of have this weird
you
background of tech and entertainment. And I think that's why the Geekie Awards is so fun, because it kind of combines like gaming and entertainment and comics and art and fashion and everything that I love into one show. And of course it's geek genre stuff, so it always makes it fun.
you
But
are
yeah, I just
super
have a
geeky.
weird, crazy life path. Don't worry, someday I'm going to write a book.
I look forward to that book. By the way, how do you get your teeth so white? I mean, seriously, they're
They look so much whiter now. I think I was drinking wine this weekend. I don't know. Honestly, I don't know. I actually just bought a box of these like strip whiteners, but I haven't
yeah.
used them yet. So I think I just brush my teeth a lot. I don't know.
All right, all
I
right.
don't drink
Well,
coffee. Maybe
you,
that's it.
yeah, but I did. Well, okay. I was gonna say I didn't drink coffee for years, but then I drank a lot of soda. So there's a picture of
There
you
you go.
in
No
like.
sugar.
There's a picture of you. Peter Poon put this up. It's like it must be you in like fourth or fifth grade. You're in a Minnie Mouse costume on a
Yes.
stage. What is that?
That's my first dance class ever. I took dance for 9 years. I took jazz and tap. And so that was my first dance ever. And that was kind of, I like to call it my first cosplay experience, because I love dancing. It was amazing. That kind of made me athletic. But that was the first time. I would always look forward to the costumes that we got to wear for the actual recital. And I'm a huge costume person. I mean, if you guys look at my website, you'll see me in like a bunch of different stuff that I make myself. And yeah, I just like the theatrics of it. So that was me. That was like my
I
first
like it.
dance ever, and I was 4.
Wow, very nice. I like it a lot. It's super cool. I like getting a look into your life when you were 4 and in fourth grade and throughout college and everything. But I just don't understand. So there's one thing you got to clarify for me. I
Okay.
mean, I wanted to be a pro hockey player in the worst way. If I went to Syracuse University or let's say BU and played hockey, because that would probably be the equivalent of the ski team you were on. If I went to BU and played hockey, I mean, I watched Miracle this weekend, not for the first time, and it was just because I was flipping the channels. I would have given anything to play hockey for Team USA. How do you? Was that just not a dream? You just did it because you were good at it and it was fun, and when it wasn't fun anymore, you chased other dreams, or how do you go
I
from
never
being?
wanted to be a professional athlete. Actually, my husband was really into baseball, and he wanted to be a professional baseball player. So he actually had to make that decision between art school and baseball. And I think for him, he thought, well, am I good enough to be a professional baseball player, or am I going to go just sit on the bench? And for me, I never wanted to be an athlete. My ambition was always to be on camera and to be in the world of theater or film, and I think that I've sort of done that. And for me, I'm just an athletic person, and I love the outdoors, and I need to be physically active, and I think that's what sports were. So it was more of a thing that was fun. And when I found out, I mean, I grew up skiing, and when I found out that there was a ski team, I remember getting in the elevator when I was a sophomore, and this girl was wearing a vest that said SU ski team, and I tapped her on the shoulder. I was like, what is that, and how do I get involved? It was more a social thing for me. It was fun. It was physical. I got to exercise. I got to be part of this team environment.
Yeah.
But really, that miracle, by the way, that's what made the Red Sox win the World Series. Don't even talk about that movie. I love that movie so much. Kurt Russell. Oh, but
Wait, how did Miracle make the Red Sox win the World Series?
because they play. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, before they started that series, they all sat down as a team and watched that movie together.
I will tell you, it's super inspirational. I got to tell you, I watched that this weekend, and I literally was like, they lost to the Russians. I mean, and I've been the biggest fan of that team forever. We have a picture of that team hanging up in the office that's autographed by all the members of the team.
Yeah.
I used to run around wanting to be Mike Eruzione. I literally I would reenact that goal. I was probably 4 years old. I remember this. I had a Cooper helmet and face mask. I had a Mets baseball bat that you would get at the game. Like a souvenir baseball bat that was like this big, and I would run around with a Nerf basketball, and I would reenact that goal. I had these red, blue, and white hockey gloves, and I would take the little bat, and I'd run around reenacting that goal. I wanted to be on that team. I loved the made-for-TV movie with Carl Malden called Miracle on Ice that was about that team, and that's all I wanted. So watching this, it just brings me back to those memories. But you sit there and you're like, I think it was the first time it ever really clicked. I got the whole idea of the Russians and where we were in the world long before this, but this was the first time it ever clicked that they never should have won that game. Like that they lost 10-1 10 to nothing rather, 3 days before the Olympics in New York City to the Russians. The Russians had beaten the NHL All-Stars 6-0 3 weeks before the Olympics. They shouldn't have even been on the same ice. There was no way those guys should have won, except they believed in themselves and they worked really hard. That was it. And that's why it's so inspirational, because you can do anything you put your mind to. You can do anything if you want it bad enough. And so really it was great to watch over the weekend, and I just happened upon it. So I agree. I think it could like propel a baseball team by watching that. It could really inspire you.
Well, and it can inspire people. I mean, one of the reasons I do get that question all the time. How can you be a geek if you love, baseball? That's weird. But really, if you think about it, when you're a geek, you're watching these our genres are all about the heroes and the villains and the heroes overcoming these great feats. But sports are, and those are just stories most of the time. Sports are the true life heroes that actually overcome those feats, like the team that shouldn't have won. The Red Sox shouldn't have won. They came back like, huge at the end of that. And you see that time and time again. And I think sports are a little bit over sensationalized because they make it all about the athletes and the money and the branding. But at the end of the day, you know, they are guys that are out there physically, their physical bodies, you
Well,
know, overcoming.
that's the thing I said to Adam. We went to lunch today, and that's
Yeah.
the thing I said is this isn't like a Hollywood movie. This wasn't, this
No,
wasn't. I mean,
it's
yes, it was a
real.
Hollywood movie, but it really was real, and that's the thing that blows your mind time and time again. And so, yeah, I get that. What video games are you into? You play. I get that sense. What are you into, and what systems do you like?
Well, I have an Xbox. Sorry, people.
Because
I had a PlayStation, and it's crapped out too many times. I don't own a PC. I'm on a Mac, so I know I'm not like a real gamer, but I mean I am. But no, I have my Xbox because I play games and watch TV on that. And right now, I'm actually I love fantasy games. I'm not a big fan of shooter games. Every once in a while, I'll play them, but you know, I played Skyrim,
Sure.
and right now I'm actually playing Dragon Age. My YouTube show is called Late to the Game, and it's all about being behind on video games. So I realized that I really want to make another show about video games, but I can't keep up with the video games that are out there because I'm constantly working and I barely have time to play as it is. So I threw it out there on Facebook. Well, what if I made this show called Late to the Game that's about people like us that we love gaming, but we just have too many things on our plate and we're always behind. And it's going to be me playing these video games that I haven't played yet. And so I'm actually playing Dragon Age Origins still. And that's what my show is about. And so I just like games with swords and dragons. I mean,
Very nice.
clearly that's what I'm into. Anytime I can pick up a weapon, anytime there's dragons involved or some sort of fantasy or magic element, I'm always a mage. I'm always a mage, you know, like a, you know, person with magic. I'm always a mage, but I also sword fight. And that's like the best of both worlds. I wish that I was a mage in real life and I could do magic.
Pretty
I
cool.
can't fight with a sword. I can't throw fireballs. Sorry.
Pretty cool. And I've been playing the Xbox a lot lately, and I'm liking it. But I can't get off the sports games. I play other games,
Yeah.
and I come right back to the sports games. I'm playing NHL 15. I can't find anybody to play me. You know what I realized this weekend, by the way, for the first time? I was watching the NHL playoffs. I was so excited that the Rangers won in overtime. My son Jack and I watched that. He stayed up way past his bedtime. But we watched that together with some friends, and it was awesome. The Rangers are moving on to the second round of the NHL Stanley Cup playoffs. But here's the thing. I watched the Wild take on the Blues yesterday. And it was it was such a great game. But what made it even better was I didn't care who won. So I just relaxed and watched a great hockey game. And I realized that it's so hard to watch the Rangers because I'm so vested in them that it's nerve-wracking. And it's great. It's a completely different experience, though. And so it was so cool to watch the Wild, who played amazing, play the Blues. And then you can actually like really think clearly and think about strategy because you're not so vested in the game and the players. It was kind of cool. But I think it's awesome that you play all these games and that you're into it, and you've got this show that you're starting Late to the Game. When is that? Where are people going to be able to find that?
Well, it's already going, and that's what I won the award for. It's
Oh,
called.
I didn't realize that. I'm so sorry. Congratulations,
No
by the way.
worries. I did right before I saw you, right after I saw you. Sorry,
Right.
I think it was the day after. It was the International Academy of Web Television
No,
Awards.
we walked by you when you were walking in. I mean,
Yeah,
you met us,
yeah,
and then
that's right.
but we
And
waved
so
to you. Yeah.
actually ended up winning for best host. I beat out Larry King, which was crazy, and Will Wheaton, who is my idol. And I ended up getting best host for pre-recorded, which was my YouTube show. And I'm just really weird and silly, and I swear a lot, and I beep it. But that's kind of my thing. And because I think we play video games, we swear a lot. And they can go on my YouTube channel. It's just Kristen Nedopak. So most of my stuff is just under my name, Kristen Nedopak, unless it's, of course, the Geekie Awards. But yeah, there's only a few episodes. I started it, and then I'm in a hold pattern right now where I have to work on submissions, and I have to work on this big beast of a show. So like my video game playing, my video game show is actually behind, which is kind of ironic. But there are a few episodes, so hopefully if you guys check it out, you'll laugh, and then I can make more.
What and what network is it on?
Oh, it's on YouTube. Sorry, it's right on YouTube.
Very-
So YouTube channel, Kristen Nedopak, super easy to find. And then if you're there and you liked Skyrim, you can actually go look at my old series, the Skyrim parodies. That one was me in the game making fun of the characters. I just make fun of the characters and pretty much everything.
Awesome.
But it's funny. It's funny.
I love it. Kristen Nedopak, thank you so much for joining us. Please don't be a stranger. Please come on off and please talk to us about
Absolutely.
Everything Geek, and please also talk to us about your shows. And of course, the Geekie Awards. You know what? I think we have to enter our Comic-Con stuff, but past that, we want to figure out a way to be there and also help you promote it leading up to it. So we'll talk offline. Thanks so much for joining us. You were a great guest. We didn't even take a commercial break. I just said screw it. Sorry, sponsors. You lose out today. This would have been a good one to get in on too. Wow, I really screwed that up. Oh well. I guess, look, like I said, you got to be who you want to be and do what you want to do. So I did it. I just did it. Peter's signaling me. It looks like a first base coach giving me all the signs and everything, and I just blew right past it. I came in and scored. Thank you so much. You were awesome. That's
Thanks,
Kristen
guys.
Nedopak. She's unbelievable. And we'll be back tomorrow with a whole nother episode of the Michael Artsis Show on Be Terrific. Be Terrific.